Viewer advisory. This video recounts a true historical survival story from 1914 to 1917. Important notes. All visuals are AI-generated historical recreations using Gemini AI. No actual expedition footage exists. Cameras of 1914 to 1917 were limited. It's own story based on crew diaries, Frank Hurley's photographs, and historical records. For educational and historical documentation purposes, sources: Royal Geographical Society, Scott Polar Research Institute, expedition diaries of Shackleton, Worsley, Hurley, and crew members. This is Ramis Narrations. August 1914. The First World War has just begun. While Europe descends into chaos, a 40-year-old Irish explorer named Ernest Shackleton is about to embark on the last great polar journey that can be made, crossing Antarctica on foot from one side to the other via the South Pole. His ship, the Endurance. His crew, 27 men plus one stowaway. Their destination, the most hostile environment on Earth. What happens next will become the greatest survival story in human history. The Endurance will be crushed by ice and sink. The men will be stranded on drifting ice floes for 5 months. They will sail 800 miles across the world's most violent ocean in a 22-foot boat. They will climb unexplored glaciated mountains with improvised equipment. They will endure 497 days without setting foot on solid ground. And here is the miracle. Every single man will survive. Not one life lost. This is not fiction. This is not exaggeration. This is the true story of Shackleton's Endurance expedition. And I am going to show you exactly how they did it. December 5th, 1914. The Endurance departs from Grytviken whaling station on South Georgia Island. Experienced Norwegian whalers warn Shackleton. The ice conditions in the Weddell Sea are the worst they have seen in years. His chances? Slim. Shackleton ignores them. This is the last time the crew's feet will touch solid ground for 497 days. Just 2 days later, on December 7th, they enter pack ice. The ship pushes through, making slow progress. On January 10th, 1915, land. The crew catches their first glimpse of the Antarctic mainland. Coates Land, just 30 miles away. Victory is so close. Then, disaster strikes. January 18th, 1915. A northerly gale presses the ice tight against the continent. The Endurance becomes completely trapped, locked in nature's vice grip. For the next 10 months, the ship drifts helplessly with the ice. Not toward Antarctica, but away from it. The men are prisoners. They establish routines, play football on the ice, hold dinners, play chess and cards. Photographer Frank Hurley captures it all on glass plate negatives. But beneath them, the ice is moving, shifting, cracking, building pressure. By October 1915, the Endurance is groaning. Her timbers are cracking under unbearable force. Shackleton writes in his diary, "She is slowly giving up her sentient life at the very outset of her career." October 27th, 1915. With the ship's hull buckling and water pouring in, Shackleton gives the order, abandon ship. The men salvage what they can. 3 lifeboats, food supplies, equipment, tents. Hurley dives into the freezing flooded hold to rescue his precious photographic negatives, over 600 glass plates. But Shackleton makes a brutal decision. They are too heavy. Hurley must choose 120 plates to keep. The rest, smashed on the ice, right there, so they cannot be tempted to carry the weight. November 21st, 1915. The crew watches as the Endurance, with one final groan, slips beneath the ice and disappears forever. She's going, boys. They are now completely alone, stranded on a drifting ice floe in the most remote corner of Earth. No radio, no way to call for help. No one knows where they are. Shackleton's priority shifts immediately. Forget the expedition. Forget crossing Antarctica. Get these men home alive. They set up camp on the ice. They name it Ocean Camp. Then Patience Camp. The sled dogs are shot to conserve food supplies. Even Mrs. Chippy, the beloved ship's cat, is killed. Her owner, Carpenter Harry McNish, will never forgive Shackleton. Food is rationed to last 4 weeks. After that, they will hunt seals and penguins. Or starve. The temperature drops to -20 Fahrenheit and lower. They are drifting north with the ice, praying it takes them toward open water. toward hope. For 5 months, they drift, 28 men on shrinking ice floes. They drag the 3 lifeboats across the ice, trying to reach open water. The boats are named after the expedition's financial backers, James Caird, Dudley Docker, and Stancomb Wills. McNish rigs sledge runners underneath so they can be pulled. It is backbreaking work. Progress is measured in feet, not miles. The ice beneath them is fracturing, cracking. Some nights they hear it breaking apart with sounds like cannon fire. They move camp when cracks appear. They hunt for food. Seals become their lifeline. Penguin meat. Blubber for fuel. The men read recipes aloud from a salvaged cookbook, torturing themselves with fantasies of proper meals. Shackleton enforces strict discipline. Everyone gets equal rations. He gives his own mittens to photographer Hurley, who lost his in the boat journey. Shackleton suffers frostbite as a result. Leaders lead by sacrifice. April 9th, 1916. The ice floe finally breaks up completely. They launch the boats into the freezing water. Confused, lumping seas, far more dangerous than regular ocean waves. For 5 days and nights they row and bail water constantly. Men suffer from exposure, dehydration, frostbite. Some can barely move. April 14th, 1916. Through the fog and ice, they spot land, Elephant Island, a desolate rock, 346 miles from where the Endurance sank. They land on the beach. For the first time in 497 days, their feet touch solid ground. Men collapse. Some kiss the rocks. Some cannot stand. But they are alive. Elephant Island is utterly remote. No shipping lanes pass here. No rescue will ever come by accident. Shackleton knows this. He makes the hardest decision of his life. Take a small crew and sail 800 nautical miles across the Scotia Sea, one of the most violent bodies of water on Earth, to reach South Georgia Island, where there are whaling stations, or watch all his men die slowly as winter approaches. April 24th, 1916. Shackleton selects 5 men. Navigator Frank Worsley, Second Officer Tom Crean, Carpenter Harry McNish, despite their earlier conflict, because his skills are essential, and 2 able seamen, Timothy McCarthy and John Vincent. They modify the James Caird, the largest lifeboat at 22.5 feet long. McNish raises the sides using canvas and wood salvaged from the other boats. They seal gaps with lampwick, oil paint, and seal blood. 22 men are left behind under Frank Wild's command. Shackleton tells Wild, "Keep them alive, keep them hopeful, I will return." The 6 men set sail. What follows is 17 days of absolute hell. Hurricane-force winds, waves up to 60 feet high, constant bailing to stay afloat. They take turns, 3 men working, 3 men resting. Except there is no rest. The reindeer sleeping bags shed bristly hairs into everything they eat. Sea spray freezes on the boat. One morning, they wake to find 12 inches of ice coating the canvas deck. The boat is sitting dangerously low. If they do not remove the ice, they will capsize. In shrieking winds and heaving seas, men crawl across the slippery deck, chipping away ice with one hand while clinging on with the other. Navigator Worsley catches only 4 glimpses of the sun through storm clouds to calculate position. The rest is dead reckoning, guesswork. Missing South Georgia means certain death in the open Atlantic. May 10th, 1916. Through the storm, they see land, South Georgia. They made it, but they land on the wrong side of the island, the uninhabited southern coast. The whaling stations are on the north. Between them and rescue, 32 miles of unexplored glaciated mountains. The whaling stations are 32 miles away on the other side of South Georgia Island. Between them, unexplored mountains, glaciers, and crevasses. No one has ever crossed this terrain. They have no climbing equipment. What they do have, 1 carpenter's adze for ice climbing, 50 feet of rope, and desperation. They drive screws through their boot soles for traction. Shackleton chooses 2 men to come with him, Worsley and Crean. McNish, McCarthy, and Vincent stay behind. Too weak to continue. They bring 3 days of food, but dump the sleeping bags and tent to save weight. If they get caught in a blizzard, they will freeze to death. No backup plan. They set off. For 36 hours straight they climb. No rest, no sleep. They traverse glaciers, cross crevasse fields where one wrong step means death. At one point, they hear the sound they have been dreading, A distant steam whistle from Stromness whaling station. They are close, but night is falling. They are exhausted. Then Shackleton makes an insane decision. They are on a steep ice slope. Below them, fog. They cannot see the bottom. They could walk for hours trying to find a safe route down, or they could slide. Shackleton says, "We're sliding." They link arms, sit down on the ice, and slide down a steep mountain in total darkness, not knowing what is at the bottom. They slide for several minutes, screaming, terrified. They hit a snowbank at the bottom, uninjured, laughing like madmen. It is the most reckless thing Shackleton has ever done, but it works. May 20th, 1916. At 6 a.m., 3 filthy, bearded figures with torn clothes and frostbitten faces stagger into Stromness whaling station. The Norwegian whalers do not recognize them. When they realize it is Shackleton, they are stunned. He has been presumed dead for over a year. Shackleton's first words, "We have lost the ship, but we have saved all the men." Shackleton immediately organizes rescue for the 22 men left on Elephant Island. First attempt, a Norwegian whaler cannot break through the sea ice, turned back. Second attempt, a British trawler fails. Third attempt, using a schooner from Uruguay. Shackleton gets within sight of Elephant Island, but pack ice blocks the way. Forced to retreat again. Meanwhile, on Elephant Island, Wild is keeping the men alive. They have built a shelter from the 2 remaining upturned boats, fastened together with canvas. They call it the Snuggery. 22 men in cramped, freezing conditions. Winter has arrived. The penguins and seals have migrated away. Food is running desperately short. They start digging up old seal bones to stew with seaweed, to cope with starvation. They read fantasy recipes aloud from cookbooks. Roast dinners, cakes, puddings. Wild later writes, "Had we plenty to eat and to smoke, our minds would have been our real peril. Boredom and despair would have killed us." Every morning, Wild rolls up his sleeping bag and tells the men, "Get your gear ready, boys. The boss may come today." He does this every single morning, keeping hope alive. The young stowaway, Perce Blackborough, develops severe frostbite in his toes. The 2 doctors, McElroy and Macklin, have no choice. They amputate Blackborough's toes by the light of the blubber stove. No anesthetic except methylated spirits. Fourth rescue attempt. Shackleton secures a Chilean steam tug called the Yelcho. August 30th, 1916. 4.5 months after leaving Elephant Island, Shackleton finally breaks through the ice. As his boat approaches, he anxiously counts the figures on shore. All of them. He calls out, "Are you all well?" The reply echoes back, "All well, boss." All 22 men are alive. They board the Yelcho, after 4.5 months on Elephant Island, after 497 days since leaving South Georgia, after losing their ship, after crossing 800 miles of the Scotia Sea in a lifeboat, after climbing unmapped mountains. Not one man was lost. 28 men survived, every single one. Let me repeat that because it is almost impossible to believe. In 1914 to 1917, before modern communication, before rescue helicopters, before GPS, in the most hostile environment on Earth, Shackleton brought every single man home alive. This is why the Endurance expedition is considered the greatest survival story in human history, not because they crossed Antarctica. They failed that mission completely, but because Shackleton's leadership, decision-making, and unwavering focus on his men's survival created a miracle. His philosophy was simple. First, the men. Then, the ship. Then, the mission. The expedition is remembered for multiple impossible achievements. 5 months surviving on drifting pack ice. An 800-mile open boat voyage across the world's worst ocean. First ever crossing of South Georgia's glaciated mountains with improvised equipment, and a perfect survival record. But there is a tragic footnote. While Shackleton's crew all survived, the Ross Sea Party on the other side of Antarctica suffered a different fate. 3 men died laying supply depots that would never be used because Shackleton never crossed. The Endurance itself remained lost for 107 years until March 5, 2022, when scientists using submersibles found the wreck nearly 10,000 feet deep in the Weddell Sea. Photographs show the ship remarkably preserved in icy water. Shackleton's legacy endures because his story proves something profound, that with leadership, unity, determination, and sacrifice. Humans can overcome seemingly impossible odds. This was not just survival. This was a testament to the indomitable human spirit.